is, well, I'm by myself right now. And instead of just playing video games all day or playing the game of how many jalapenos will it take to rip apart my butthole, jalapenos on my hot dog. Um, Wanted to browse the news. Super exciting. I could be cleaning, but I flipped open my phone and saw some potential rumors. And so we're going to look at them together. If anybody wants to look at them with me, cool. If you don't, bye. Come chat about the news. All right, now that that's posted, first thing I wanted to talk about a couple things. There's obviously a lot of different scandals with these people going on who are celebrities. There's earthquakes going on. Well, not earthquakes, a major earthquake that just happened. And then I was checking stocks this morning because one of my friends posted that their stock plummeted. I was checking the Tesla stock this morning, and I see that apparently Elon Musk is leaving Doge. But then you pull it up on YouTube and it says, yeah, fake news. So let's read the fake news one. See what it is. And Doug.
You'll be back. Emus can help people customize and save hundreds on.
In the meantime, do want to take you out to a story that we have been following throughout the morning as Elon Musk and the White House are responding to a report from Politico claiming the Tesla CEO will soon step away from Washington and his role with the Department of Government Efficiency. Politico reporting that President Trump has told his quote unquote inner circle that Musk will soon step away from the role, but Elon Musk did respond short time ago here on his X app simply saying, quote, yeah, fake news. We also did get a statement here from Caroline Levitt. She is, of course, the White House press secretary. I'm going to pop that up on your screen here.
Yeah, I mean, the one that I'm reading here that says fake news is The Scoop. It says from Caroline Levitt. The Scoop is garbage. Elon and President Trump have both publicly stated that Elon will depart from the public service as a special government employee when his incredible work at Doge is complete. So, yeah, I mean, he's directly saying he's not going to leave. I was hopeful that he would leave, and that's just a personal preference. I think actually he's had a lot of great findings as far as all the money that's being spent that shouldn't be. When someone's apparently over 200 years old, but getting money from Social Security, that's probably not good. Or when small business loans are going out to toddlers, that's probably not good. So things like that, I agree on. All the other stuff that he does as a crazy person, like his Hitler salutes and all those other things, I just don't care for. Um, Also, like being an employee of his has impacted me. So that's why I'm not a big fan of him being a part of this, just because personally, I have to speak to it to customers a lot. And I have to see the angry people from it a lot. And so I liked him better when he was just helping businesses and the people within those businesses grow. Um, we could leave it at that for now, unless anybody feels like we should talk more about it. The other one I really want to look into was earthquake, earth, wind, and fire. Earthquake, because so when I grew up, in 1989 there was a really big earthquake in California in the Bay Area, the Loma Prieta quake, and I thought that was huge. And it was like a 6.8, 6.9, lasted several seconds, did a lot of damage. And I looked it up today, and it looks like less than 70 people died, over 3,700 injured, and lots of damage caused. But this one in Myanmar, over 3,000 dead. That's insane. That's crazy. So I haven't seen any of these videos. It's 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 5 hours ago. Let's check this one out. Oh, good. Give me time to get the talk on your dog.
Taxes was feeling so stuck. Now Taxes is having a TurboTax expert who does your taxes from start to finish. While you checking any,
It's been an absolutely exhausting night and now morning for everybody out here at the scene of this horrific building collapse here in Bangkok. This was a skyscraper under construction. It had well over 100 construction workers inside when the 7.7 magnitude quake 600 miles away caused shaking that was so severe here in Thailand that this building came down and the workers had almost no notice. Crews have been out throughout the night and now the morning, basically digging by hand through this rubble. It's a huge mountain of twisted metal and concrete. They actually heard a cell phone ringing inside. At one point, they thought they had identified a pocket with some survivors and some people who had died, but then they called off the search for a couple of hours because they just weren't able to get in. And even though there's a lot of heavy machinery out here, they're not using it right now because they don't want to risk causing instability if there are pockets where people are still alive, around 100 people somewhere inside this pile, and there may be some air pockets where people have survived. They pulled out more than a dozen people alive, and they also found at least 10 people dead. It's been absolutely agonizing for the people here in these chairs. These are some
that I don't know if you all saw the video of this building collapse, but it was devastating to see it. And you know that it's the middle of the day. People are obviously working on it, like they said. But it's wild that anybody could have survived that, and that they've already found, let's say, 10 or 12 living. That's
some of the family members of the construction workers who've been out here, basically just sitting, waiting, hoping for any news. There are paramedics that have been on standby to treat anybody who is a survivor to come out, although we haven't seen any survivors come out now for a number of hours. And again, this is 600 miles from the epicenter. The true extent of the damage is in Myanmar, in the city of Mandalay, city of 1.5 million people, where the videos that have emerged have shown buildings that have collapsed, many buildings that have collapsed, along with a bridge collapse and a really dire situation in a country that's been gripped in a civil war now for several years. The military junta that controls parts of that country making a rare plea for international aid, but even getting that aid in could be very difficult because there are militias that control certain areas in Myanmar. So they're going to have to navigate all of these military barricades, essentially, just to get in the relief. And at this point, it's still too soon to know exactly how many people in Myanmar, far closer to the devastation than this.
The pineal gland has tiny little cilia, hair-like extensions all around it. When you hold your breath and you finally let your breath out,
a powerful earthquake has rocked Myanmar, leaving devastation in its wake. On Sunday, March 30th, a 5.1 magnitude tremor struck near Mandalay, the country's second-largest city, sending people fleeing in fear. However, this was merely an aftershock of a far greater disaster.
Don't worry about that. Dang, so you're telling me that they got hit by a 7.7 and then a 5.1? That's terrifying. Imagine being on one of those portions of a building that connects to another one, and oh, there you go. Yeah, that's absolutely insane. So thanks.
Caused chaos, claiming more than 18 lives. 11 people were killed.
3,000 now, sadly. Oof.
news out of Myanmar, where the death toll has jumped to more than 2,700. The massive magnitude 7.7 earthquake struck Friday northwest of the city of Mandalay. Thousands are injured, hundreds still missing. Survivors have no food, no water, no power, and no shelter. Relief workers have difficulty getting in as there is a civil war there. On top of this all, fuel is low and communications are down. The UN warns of a deadly disease risk. That war also making things worse, and the crisis is growing by the hour.
And the Burma earthquake death toll.
Wait, did they just say? So not only is there a civil war, there's disease risk, and there's an earthquake.
On top of this all, fuel is low and communications are down. The UN warns of a deadly disease risk. That war also making things worse, and the crisis is growing by.
Over 3,400 and nearly 140 people missing. It's one of the strongest earthquakes to hit the Southeast Asian country. It's missing. It's one of the strong 140 people missing. It's one of the strongest earthquakes to hit the Southeast Asian country in decades. Fox News correspondent Stephanie Bennett has the story.
Foreign aid is pouring in after a violent earthquake shook Burma on Friday. The 7.7 magnitude quake triggered the collapse of buildings, bringing the death toll to at least 1,600 people, according to the country's ruling military.
Buildings have been reduced to rubble in just seconds. Teams are telling us that they are even hearing screams from under the rubble, and the screams have been quietened after a bit.
India, China, and Russia are among those sending relief teams into Burma.
A total of about 50 tons of relief material is being transported to Yangon. This includes clothing bricks.
Despite cuts to foreign aid, President Donald Trump said that the U.S. will also provide some assistance. Meanwhile, the United Nations has set aside $5 million for relief efforts. It says extensive infrastructure damage.
Quake will compound an already dire humanitarian situation in Myanmar, where nearly 20 million people need assistance across the country.
The quake also rattling buildings in neighboring Thailand, where families in Bangkok anxiously wait to hear for news about their missing loved ones.
I am praying my husband wasn't working at this site. He usually worked at 2 sites. I've told our kids I am here to bring daddy home.
According to the U.S. Geological Survey's predictive modeling.
Did he not come home? Because it probably was at that site, unfortunately. Whew. Uplifting news, huh? I know it'll make it. Always makes me laugh. Impractical Jokers. Those guys are hilarious. Let's see what they're up to. It's the Joe Gatto one. The Joe Gatto one is a tough one because how do people feel about that? He was supposedly, allegedly, hanging out with someone who is an adult, and she just didn't like getting freaky. That one, I just don't know. Let's see. Where's the latest one on that? This one?
Comedian Joe Gatto has put his tour on pause and entered a live-in medical facility just weeks after performing at Elon. Starting on March 20th, multiple women came forward accusing the former Impractical Jokers star of sexual misconduct. The accusations started with a series of TikTok videos that have now been deleted.
Why'd they delete them? But he also went to rehab, so he thinks there's a problem. He wouldn't just go to rehab if there was no issue.
I got sexually assaulted by Joe Gatto, the Impractical Joker.
Joe Gatto.
So I've seen that video.
This woman is claiming that Joe Gatto from Impractical Jokers SA'd her. Now, the woman who's accusing him of this said she was out to breakfast with her family when they ran into Joe Gatto. Joe Gatto has officially Joe Gatto has officially responded to the allegations from a female TikToker that he had SA'd her. If you haven't heard the context of the story, watch my last video where I go over it. But in his official response, he says, "I've used poor judgment and as a result have violated the trust of the people I love most." But anyone who knows me.
So the whole thing was that she said that they met up and then she like came over to the hotel, and she shows pictures of her butt/thigh area where there's a big bruise on it. She was 19, I believe, at the time. So she was going over to some guy's hotel at 2:30 in the morning for what? Chatting? For playing video games? Let's get real with that. If there's bruising on her, is it from that night? Is it from him? We don't know. It's been a long time. Hard to tell. If it is from him, was it consensual? Was it non-consensual? Why didn't you speak up way earlier? If someone's hurting you, like physically hurting you, I don't know. I think that this one for me is as the no-go. The only thing that says that he was in the wrong is that he was like, oh, I'm actually going to stop all my tours and I'm going to go to rehab. That is probably some admission that he's doing something he shouldn't be doing. The other one that I think is a little bit more damning is Joe Murray. Because Joe Murray, there's pictures. Is his name not Joe Murray? Murray from Impractical Jokers. Oh, it's Joe Gatto. Duh, I'm an idiot. So Murray is James Murray. James Murray allegations. Yeah, let's do that one. This one seems a bit more like, hey, dude, you're a fucking weirdo. 2 minutes.
On meeting you guys, seeing you guys in DC, that it was like my mind was blown. I feel like we've grown up on meeting you guys, seeing you guys in DC.
His voice is what is this video? This is also hard for me to believe if you're blurring yourself out.
See that it was like my mind was blown. I feel like we've grown up together. Yeah,
it's a legit video.
If you ever need anything, just let us know, and I'll beat the hell out of somebody for it if you want.
James Murray, best known for Impractical Jokers, is facing backlash after a Reddit user accused him of exchanging inappropriate messages with her when she was a minor. The allegations surfaced on March 27th, 2025, just days after fellow comedian Joe Gatto was hit with separate misconduct claims. A Reddit user at PretendCrab9160 shared screenshots on our Impractical Jokers, though they've since been removed. She alleged the messages were exchanged.
So there was one video that popped up day one, and it showed James Murray. And there's obviously a lot of back and forth between him and this girl who was 17 at the time. And see, that's the one with the bruise. This one right here. The girl was 17 at the time, and saying that she came to after party or went backstage, that the Jokers were doing a bunch of drugs or substances, and then there was like a photo booth and he was kissing her. Now, if this is the same person and he's kissing her when she's 19 or 20 or whatever, because she obviously saw them multiple times, when are those photos from? I just thought it was all one piece, that he was kissing her when she was 17. Crazy. Because if you read the actual back and forth messages that the girl posted, he doesn't seem creepy to me. Maybe it's just my bias being a male. But it seemed like a performer to a fan. You know, like, thanks for coming. Here's some backstage passes, or meet and greet passes, as they call them. And then just like, that's it. It's just very straightforward. There was nothing like sexual. There were no Dr. Disrespect messages. There was no gripping. There's no talking sexual as far as the ones I've seen. The thing for me that I thought was damning was the photos of him kissing her. But that's when I thought she was 17. If it was the same person and she was 20, and again, she's just there like messing around with somebody, that's a whole different story if it's consensual. So that one's gone then. I don't know where how fastly things disappear from the internet, huh? James, I mean, they're gonna be all in shorts, I bet.
After some serious allegations, Joe Gatto.
I mean, this guy here looks like he's already. This guy's like somebody should watch his phone, check the messages he's been sending. He looks pretty creepy.
From Impractical Jokers has voluntarily checked himself into an inpatient program to work weird. That same self, allegation number 2, a former employee. She came forward each other, lift their shirts and Facebook messages, but she posts the.
Okay. Nothing much about James, huh?
James Murray accused of sending inappropriate messages to minor. Allegations surface amid Impractical Jokers fallout. The woman, using the handle at pretend_crap years old and single until she came of age, he allegedly replied, "Once you turn 18, email me the same question." 2013, when the fan was 16 years old and Murray was 35. In one message, Murray reportedly wrote, "Hi, you're awesome. Once you turn 18, email me the same question and I'll be happy to answer." When the girl teased him about staying single until she came of age, he allegedly replied, "I'll do my best, promise."
Yeah, I mean, that's a weird thing to say, right? Like if and I did see those messages too, rather than this AI thing, where she mentioned something about him being single and he's like, "Yeah, I'll do my best." Is "I'll do my best" a true statement? Was he really gonna try and stay single for her? Or was he just kind of like, I don't know what to say to this? Should he just have not replied? Most likely. Also the email me the same question when you turn 18. That's kind of creepy. Like, no real need to do that at all. That's a bad one. Just why? There's plenty of men and women out there that are already over 18 or 21, or you're probably in your 40s. Like, there's plenty that are of age that, like, you don't need to wait for this one, dude. Like, you could just move along. That is a weird one. All right. Well, now that the news has cheered me up for the day, I'm gonna go die at Rainbow Six Siege or something. Thanks. See you later.